welcome everyone to another episode of Drink While You Think. It's a good one because we've got one of our guests here. But again, as hosts, I'm Kenji. I actually got a haircut this week. I'm excited. He's Matthew. You got a haircut last week.
I got a haircut last week. We're like coming out of the COVID. Here we go.
Coming out of COVID. And we got our buddy Drew Smith with us. Welcome, man.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Super pumped to have you here, man. So give us the highlight. Who is Drew Smith? What are you doing these days, man?
Yeah, well, first off, I'll just say I'm honored to be on sharing the screen and sharing a beer with you guys because, royalty in the cloud accounting world. Plus with, all the parade of folks that you've had through, I kind of feel like I'm a little kid getting pulled onto the Beyonce stage to sing a song. Happy to be here. But about a year ago, I started my firm, Crafted Advisory, focusing on management, accounting, finance advisory services for the craft industry. So craft breweries, craft distilleries, craft frozen desserts, even handcrafted leather goods. So, I've been having a lot of fun doing it. It was a long time in the making. I've been noodling on this for almost 8 years and took a nice little break and went over to Monday Night Brewing here in Atlanta, Georgia for 6 years. So had a lot of fun doing that. Now I'm using what I learned there and along the way to help out other small businesses.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, it's Monday Night Brewery, great local brewery to Atlanta. I know you were there for a long time. You got as many beers we've consumed quite a few of them here on Drink While You Think. But I'm curious, with all your brewery background, what do you got? What are you having today, Drew?
Yeah. So I went with the Stone Beer movie.
Nice.
And I had to do a little research on that one because I thought with the FML they were playing off of that acronym there, but actually it's a website where you go and you put in what 3 words. It's called what3words.com, and it's basically has a 3x3 grid, and you look at a map and every 3x3 meter grid has 3 words associated with it. So that'll be a fun thing to do. Check out what 3 words are yours for your favorite spot in the house. But
very creative.
New England style IPA, 16 ounce.
Okay.
Unfiltered double IPA. So
ooh,
hard,
That sounds like that's up my alley right there. I like that. New England IPAs are all the rage these days, and I'll admit I'm kind of down with those. So, and Stone, great brewery too. So, nice, cool. Nice, man. Okay, Mr. May, how about you? Anything as cool and exciting as that?
Bear Republic. I don't know if it's 5 Racer. Racer 5 is the 7.5% ABV out of California. So I'm still working off the draft pack. So thanks again to the.
What is it? What kind of beer is it?
It's an IPA.
Oh, IPA. Okay. Nice. Even though I'm a big IPA fan, I'm the only one not having an IPA today. I'm down. You can see behind me. I am in Florida. This is the Florida Sunshine Lager from Crooked Can Brewing. It's just down the street. I'm in the Orlando area, and my in-laws in the Crooked Can. It's probably hard to see, Drew, but one of the things I liked about Crooked Can, their logo. That's me stupid. It's a little bit. You can see them. It kind of reminds me of the Demon Deacon a little bit. Drew and I are both Wake Forest Demon Deacons, and hey, the Crooked Can guy looks a little bit like a Demon Deacon, and so a little lager here. Cheers. I had it before. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
That's good on a good hot day like this.
And for our viewers at home, we're all speculating that we might get to see a fish caught on live on Drink While You Think, which will be
we might, yeah. You noticed in the background that was my nephew Luke right there. Luke, any fish yet? He'll show. Okay, if you get one while we're on, come by and show us our fish. So that's my nephew Luke. He's a master fisherman. We had a fishing competition going last week, and he just completely crushed and dominated me. So now I'm just letting him fish and catch things. And so, live action drinking, accounting, and fishing show. Really, this is a first for the industry for sure. Anyway. So I'll jump in. I don't know, Drew, if you knew this. I hear you're one of our 3 watchers of the show, so maybe you did. I've been doing home brewing lately.
Okay.
So I've been doing home brewing. So let's say I'm a home brewer. Done 2 batches. First was not good. Second one's better. But I'm
Okay.
ready to go pro now. I'm ready to go pro, and I want to start my own craft brewing, enterprise. I don't know, man. You're the guy giving advice on people jumping into things like breweries and others. What would you, any advice, accounting or others, as Kenji starts his home brewing enterprise to go professional here?
Yeah, well, I'd say get another couple hundred batches under your belt first, because quality really is key this day and age. Especially with recent events that have transpired, I think there's going to be, a bigger wedge in the middle where you're going to have your small, local kind of pub, cheersy type breweries that, people are coming in and just grabbing a pint off of there. And it's more of a lifestyle business. Then you're going to have your folks that are trying to continue, distribution, whether it's regionally. I don't know that a whole bunch will try that. If you're not already there, I don't know that a whole bunch will try to go nationwide. It gets harder and harder. We see breweries actually pulling back and getting out of states. So if you wanted to be a regional brewery, you got to make sure you're going to have deep pockets, because the infrastructure, the steps that you have to take to be able to put those fixed assets in place it's a lot of money. So you got to be prepared for that.
I was gonna, is that, I guess that leads a little bit, those are good things there. And I'm probably gonna keep mine very, very local, like local to my basement. But no, I appreciate you doing that. And I'm sure you probably get in a lot more depth with clients of all types who are kind of taking things that, I don't know. I tend to think of things of craft like may have been someone's hobby or passion before, maybe taking it a step further now. So I guess you probably get some people that maybe started that way and are now trying to build a business out of it. I mean, are there any things about taking someone in the craft space, whether it's gelato or, or that concept of something more regional or local that makes it unique? The advisory work, the accounting work you do unique?
The one thing I'd say on that front is, being as you are a craft maker who's, likely passionate about the business and passionate about the community and local, right? You probably not, you may have a smart business acumen. However, that's generally not what is your primary day-to-day focus. Plus, the other thing I'd say is most of these craft companies, they have likely a production component. So they're carrying inventory, production, manufacturing, assembly, something like that. They've got a wholesale component, and then they've got a retail component, right? So if you think about all those different areas, there's so much from a revenue mix, margin mix, and just analyzing that data and figuring out where the right places to put any capital that you might have towards the business, in what area, how to, plumb all those cloud accounting systems up. So.
Yeah. I guess this is the longest we've ever gone without Matthew being able to say a word. So I know he's probably, he likes to talk all the time. So I'll kick a question over to Matthew, a 2-part question. And then the second part will be really more directed toward Drew. Matthew, any updates this week on the PPP, which I know you follow closely? And then the second part of that is related to PPP, which we talk about too much on here. I'm curious how breweries are doing right now, Drew, and if any of them you've worked with have gotten PPP. But Matthew, any news on the PPP front?
Well, just for that, I'm gonna avoid your question and answer it.
I knew it.
Because I actually asked a brewer like one time. It was the best advice I had heard any like brew owner give me. I was like, because I asked him, how do you make $1 million, in a craft brewery? And he told me to start with 2 million. So I thought that was kind of a funny answer for how tough the brewing business is.
It's true.
Anyway, on the PPP side, I couldn't let that one go. Sorry. On the PPP side, it was just funny them telling me that. PPP side, the president signed the PPP Reform Act. So the reform is going to allow for 24 weeks of payroll, which basically means if you've kept your employees, the PPP loan is now a grant and not a loan, which is just really exciting for a lot of people, both from a compliance perspective. There was about to be a huge headache going through the forgiveness process, and people coming up 20% short of using that full thing, and now having a loan and not planning on a loan and really not understanding that as a loan. So I think from a 50,000 foot perspective, I think that's a very great result coming out of Congress, which is really nice. So we still have to unpack it. We're expecting some SBA guidance because they're going to have to change their form now next week to make sure that they are going to allow for 24 weeks of payroll and not cap it at the 15 grand for each employee and things like that. But based on what we see right now, it's really exciting. So hopefully some of the changes I'm interested to hear from you, Drew, because I think a lot of the breweries got hit on the occupancy side where they're not quite back yet to full steam. There were some flexibility. Most of our clients just got kind of the temporary hit where their people are working from home versus and lost some clients versus like being occupancy based and losing all their clients and being shut down by state law or state mandate. There is some flexibility on when you start the clock now, I believe, in the new rule. Do you think this extension of 24 weeks is going to help breweries, or you think it's enough to get them to fully utilize the potential of it now?
I would like to think yes. I have just some concern about the people that maybe got it on the front end, or the breweries that got it on the front end and have started to use up some of that PPP money, thinking that, hey, we need to hit a payroll number and we're keeping our people employed, but they're not actually able to come in and work the retail side of the house, right? So if you took the route of, hey, I want to make sure this is all forgiven, I'm going to pay my employees, you may have started to dip into that pretty significantly. So maybe too little too late, but I'm hopeful that that's not the case. I like to think that there are a lot of people in the brewing world that have good advisors helping them out and maybe planned accordingly for this. So
yeah. Did you see, I mean, how are, in general, Drew, how are breweries, then maybe also the craft world doing, but in particular, how are breweries doing right now? Are they doing okay for the most part, or are they having just as tough time as anyone else in the hospitality kind of business?
I think with some of the uptick in the ways that people are blowing off steam during this period, that hopefully they've been doing.
Whatever do you mean? I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, right, exactly. But it's funny because, so there are some breweries who have the distribution model where you're going out into the Krogers and Publixes and whatever, if you're lucky, or if you're local here in Atlanta. And then there are other breweries, like in New York, for example, some of these great breweries that are churning out some of these New England style IPAs, they didn't have any distribution. So everything that they were selling was people coming to the tap room and picking up this beer. So for Georgia, you had to figure out how to get more beer into the hands of people in ways other than your distribution market, going through Kroger's and Publix. And, that took the form of drive-through beer pickups, right? So a lot of people are setting up these touchless drive-throughs, come pre-order and come pick it up. So that's good margin, so that helps. But then you have the folks in New York who have to hurry up and figure out a distributor partner to get that beer that was only going out of their tap room into their local supermarket so people can buy the beer, because the beer has to keep on being brewed.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, it's been an interesting one of those businesses, and people talk about things like alcohol being recession proof and things like that. And to a certain extent, you're right. I mean, you're right. People are out to get a blow off steam somehow. And it's certainly happening, but there are certainly some logistical distribution challenges. I know that when you and I have talked before, I thought it's always been interesting watching how breweries are creating other lines of revenue. And I know, Matthew, one of our a fun drink while you think you and I did one time was from down at New Realm Brewery, and Drew, those folks. Great location. I mean, killer, beautiful location. So, I mean, a very strong retail presence, to your point about tap rooms.
Yeah.
It's seemingly that a lot of the really successful breweries have had to focus on not just selling beer, but kind of more of an experience. And I assume that part of it's probably been real challenging for folks.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, nail on the head there. The tap room is You know, I always like to joke that, hey, you know, Budweiser's and Bud Lights of the world have Super Bowl commercials. A local craft brewery has a tap room. That's the only way. That's our only way to have a commercial, right? Is to bring you in, make you want to come back here and make you enjoy your experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a unique aspect. I'm not sure people thought it was going to happen. I've been to one wedding, an actual ceremony at Monday Night Brewing, where you were the CFO of it. I've been to a wedding party, you know, reception there. It's just amazing to think that didn't exactly happen when I was getting married. I mean, think about how getting married in a brewery, and those are getting hit hard because I think it can be challenging to make money in that model. And so I do think there's some aspects where I don't know if this extends all the way into craft stuff, Drew, but like I think people maybe fall in love with like the idea, like, and probably me too, like these grandiose ideas of like, oh, what if Kenji had his own brewery and after my 1,000th batch I could do it. But I mean, it's a hard business model, I assume, isn't it? I mean, it's a pretty difficult business model.
It is. It is. You know, one of the things that you struggle with or you have to deal with as a brewery, especially if you're going out into supermarkets and distribution, is a lot of those times, even if you have a high quality product, you're a price taker. So you have an amount that you want to hit on the shelf so that a consumer will go in and buy your 6-pack of beer. You basically have to back into what your wholesale price is, and the costs that go into producing that just keep going up. So it's a tough balance, fine tension.
Yeah, it does make it challenging. So what do you think about, back to more the accounting model? Your niche isn't just breweries, right? I actually really like your niche of kind of crafted. I think that's very unique. I know you and I know 2 other friends have accounting firms. Their 2 are very specific toward breweries. Yours includes breweries.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually one of the niches of that, you know, I've seen at least a little bit more often. I don't want to say more often, but it seems to be a kind of a more defined niche in the accounting firm space when all of us are trying to create niches. I mean, do you feel that things like breweries lend themselves well to being a niche? Is there certain things that are just super consistent about them, or accounting practices? What do you think makes breweries a good niche?
That's a good question. I think it is just and you touched on you know, a line of business that a brewery has that I didn't bring at the top is, you know, private events. So you're basically running an event space, a production manufacturing facility, a retail space, and a wholesale distribution model. So you have to balance all of those things. There are so many places to dig in and sink your teeth. A lot of opportunity for analysis and advisory, and quite frankly, just making sure that you know, transactions are being processed correct.
Yeah. Was that when I think about you being kind of in some advisor, or maybe even more specific in accounting, some CFO roles, were there, I guess, what's it like, I guess, being a CFO of a brewery? Were there certain parts that were like, okay, is it just to your point, managing 4 different, almost separate types of businesses? Was that the most challenging, or is it that, wow, you got to be a good kind of inventory manufacturing kind of mind blended with this retail? What from a CFO perspective do you think is unique about breweries?
Yeah, I mean, I would say as anybody working in the accounting, finance, you know, a back office function at a place like a brewery or some business that might be more bootstrapped, is you have to get creative as to how you make it through all your work on a day-to-day basis. Like you said, I mean, there are so many different components to that, you know, one day you're doing one thing, next day you're doing a different thing, and you got to find the time to do it all. So that's what led me to be, you know, really involved in inventory systems and things like that really help out.
Yeah, I think the times when you and I would spend together, one thing I took away from just our discussions or times having lunch and drinking beers was, it just sounded like I mean, there were technical aspects we used to get into talking about systems, but what struck me about the CFO role of a brewery was how operational it was. It really touches like a massive amount of the operations. Whereas, I think in some roles I think I've been in, I think when I was kind of working more in consulting models as a CFO of a consulting firm, I was the CFO. I didn't really get that involved in the operations as much, but it just definitely seems like as a CFO of a brewery, there's a wide list of things that you end up working with that aren't probably what people think of as traditional accounting functions.
I'd say that's absolutely fair and well said. Yeah, there's a lot of places where you just have to roll up your sleeves and do it, So.
My big
Well,
question,
at least go
oh,
ahead,
sorry.
Matthew.
Kenji's still
No,
talking.
go ahead, jump in.
My big question is,
this is where we get.
how do you avoid the temptation of taking all of your fees and product? That's what I want to know.
when you're on site, hey, you know what? It is a perk, that's for sure. But you start to either the novelty wears off or the belt line gets a little tighter, and one of those to give, and you have to figure out, okay, maybe I'll take a break today. So,
Okay.
But you're right. I mean, that is one of the cool things that draws such a great group of folks to a brewery, because in a lot of instances you're not doing it for the money, you're doing it for the passion and some of the cool atmosphere that surrounds the craft space. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to keep honing my skills as a brewer. Again, Matthew actually finished the first brew I did. I think you finished it, didn't you, Matthew?
Yeah,
I'm not a
wussy.
What'd you think, Matthew? I know you'll shoot straight. How was it?
It wasn't bad.
All right.
It wasn't bad. He's probably followed the recipe to like a T, didn't experiment at all, and like watched 6 YouTube videos on how to do it, and
try 600 YouTube videos and about 6,000 Reddit threads. It's kind of become an obsession, but yeah, I did follow a recipe, and I hope to get a little about branching out a little bit. But the second one, Matthew,
people build chicken coops. That's how you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Next week, Matthew, we'll do my IPA that I brewed.
Okay. Sounds good.
I didn't want. I would have had I had a way to get it, Drew, into your hands.
Yeah.
I would have, and I will get some beer to you so you can kind of laugh at it. But we would have had that here, and you could have given your professional opinion, which would have scared the crap out of me. But
So
we'll maybe try that
next
next
week.
IPA. Second batch is an IPA. First
All
batch
right.
is an amber ale. Second batch IPA, and the second batch is much more promising.
Good.
I feel good about the front end of it. Good, nose, all that. Then it kind of falls flat a little bit at the end, but we'll work on that. So, got some stuff to learn and improve. I may have to kind of come and tap on your expertise. I guess one last question before we kind of wrap it up and we do our usual rating of beers. But anything, being that you're in this space a lot, man. Anything that you're drinking? It sounds like you're doing New England style IPAs, which are very interesting. You had there. Anything else you love these days that people should be kind of on the lookout for? Particular beer or style of beer or brewery, anything that you think is pretty cool that folks should keep an eye for?
Well, I mean, not personally for me. The one thing I will say that everybody's drinking is the hard seltzer these days. I mean, that's everywhere. So I think that's going to be
blown up.
Yeah, continued growth category. For myself, it's kind of funny. My progression went from typical college beers and getting into Belgians and IPAs and all that good stuff. And I'm kind of coming back to some of the more classic styles like the lagers and the things like that, that will lend themselves towards summer drinking and that kind of thing. So maybe more
nuance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've got out there maybe for batch 4 or 5. I'm trying to maybe try to do a lager down the road. We'll see. But
nice.
That's good. We'll have to see where it comes back to. Okay, so let's do our beer ratings. Drew, we typically use, and you may have seen before, a little app called Untappd.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you're familiar with it.
Absolutely.
Everything's on a scale of 1 to 5 and 0.25 increments. And so we always like to kind of rate them. We'll put your rating up on our Drink While You Think. For anybody who would like to follow us, DWYT. I'll have Matthew go first. Matthew.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm like at 3.25 for the Bear Republic Racer 5 India Pale Ale. So
okay.
3.25.
Is that a good Matthew rating or not so good?
That's a good rating for an IPA. But if I
He's
could,
not an IPA guy. Yeah.
I'm a stout porter guy.
Ah. Do you have a favorite there?
We're talking about New Realm. My favorite most recently was the Oaxaca Chaca there.
Okay.
So
Nice.
that was pretty.
He had Drew. There's a beer I almost went and got for Matthew, but I'm like, this is a Matthew beer, and I'm not sure I can get the name exactly, but it was a Monday night beer. It was one of these special ones, and it was
Okay.
it had like a Mexican chocolate kind of it was either a porter or a stout, and it was again one of those kind of rare kind of ones you guys used to only release very rarely. And I had it, and I was like, this might be the most Matthew made beer of all time. But I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
That's my style. That's like
It was a very
what-
unique
that
one.
one. They were almost the Oaxaca Chaca.
You may have had it, Matthew, but I'll tell you the one that I like is Great Lakes Edmund Fitzgerald Porter. I don't know if
Oh
you've
no, I'll try them.
out of Cleveland. They distribute. They have some pretty good distribution. So if you get up north,
Yeah.
find that one.
Great.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll go. We'll let Drew finish at the end here. I'll go. This is again the Florida Sunshine lager from Crooked Can, and it's good. It's very. I'll use a brewery or a beer snob word. It's very sessionable. Matthew, do you know what sessionable means?
no.
Oh, what? Drew knows.
That's right.
Just means you can probably drink a lot of them, right? Isn't that the kind of like?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean it's not
The ones
very.
you're
It's only 5%.
slamming on your head when you're done.
Yeah, it's fine. I give it probably a. I'm going to stick with you on this, Matt. I'm going to give it a 3.25. It's okay. It's not super memorable. Good folks, great space down there, but not a beer that's like, wow, I just have to go back to that one again. So I'll give it a 3.25. Drew,
Yeah.
what about yours, sir?
Stone Fear Movie Lions. It's good. I'll give it a 3.75.
Nice.
It's not my favorite as far as New England style goes, but it's solid.
Well, they're a West Coast brewery, right? So it's a little
That's right.
hard. I mean, I should say, so they're a little tough for them to be New England, but it's
That's
good,
right.
man. Well, we appreciate you being on, man. Appreciate. There's Matthew with his wonderful background of Drink What You Think.
That's great.
Appreciate you being on. Appreciate all the beer you given to us over the years, to me and the Acuity team, and all the time we spent together. So cheers. Thanks for being on. What's the best way for people to kind of find you or connect with you if they get kind of interested, especially in some of your craft advisory services?
Yeah, so website, www.craftedadvisory.com, and then obviously LinkedIn, typical place to look.
Nice. Awesome.
It's really easy to find Drew Smith on LinkedIn.
Yeah, well, there's a Crafted Advisory page out there as well, so that'll get you where you need to be.
Yeah. Well,
Not quite as easy as finding.
I put our background up because our friends at MailChimp, who are a local Atlanta company, did this, and I thought it was cool, so we did it. We put on our Covert Research Center, we put like 6 different backgrounds you could download, and this is one of them because everybody's looking for the crazy Zoom backgrounds. So you can actually download these from our website now. I don't know if anybody ever will, but I had fun. I had fun with marketing, like putting them together. So there's like 6 to choose from. So it's kind of fun. So
I think I like that one the best.
Yeah.
this is a solid one. Drink what you think, man.
It's a good one. It's a good one. All right, guys. Cheers. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Thanks for joining us, Drew. And
Thank you.
hey, thanks everyone for tuning in to watch.